Hello everyone, this is AD.VideoEditor here, and today is Monday, December 9th, and I will be going over Sony Color Correction Secondary. So why don't you go ahead, import some footage, and let's get started. So as usual, we're going to click this lower right hand icon, and when you hover over it, you see that it says Event Effects. Click that to open up all the video effects. And then you're going to find Sony Color Correction Secondary. Click that and add it and OK. And now this comes up. The first thing you'll see is the Chrominance tab. And when you click the down arrow on that, you should see this color wheel that should look pretty familiar from the previous tutorial on Sony Color Correction. And as usual, when you adjust the color of this, the color of your whole video changes, and you see as in my video preview, if I go red, blue, green, yellow, changes the color of that. But then once you have the color change, you can also rotate the hue, and the hue just is a rotate of the color, but not going from like red to blue to orange to pink. This rotates them through the color pattern as you see on this wheel: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, also known as the colors of the rainbow, or Roy G. Biv to be more scientific. And anyway, so what the hue actually does is changes the wavelengths of the colors, and the longer the wavelength, the redder the color, and the shorter the wavelength, the more blue or purple's in it. So the longest wavelength is red, and the shortest wavelength is purple. So as you rotate the hue and change the wavelengths of each of these, you see, well, let's start with red. I'll make my video red. You see red to orange to yellow to green to blue to purple, and then back to red. And so rotating the hue just cycles through all these. If for whatever reason you can't pick out the exact one you want, or you just want to do a little bit of changing around with that, and however you feel, you might want to use it in your video. Then we have the saturation, which you should be pretty familiar with. It is just taking out the color of the video, and I may have said this before, taking out the color, but not actually is it taking out all the color. It's taking out the colorfulness. And I'll explain what that means in a second. But as you see, when I take it down, it gets very black and white. When I bring it up, lots of color is into that. And then we have the gamma, which I said is similar to brightness. And as you increase it, it gets a little bit more white. And as you decrease it, it gets a little bit darker and some more black. Then you have your gain. And gain is another thing similar to brightness. And you can classify this as just a subtle brightness changer. So you see, as I increase it, little brightness, and as I decrease it, little darkness. But what's interesting about the gain is that the brightness starts from the whitest point, and the darkness starts from the darkest point. So you see, as I begin my gain, the first thing to brighten up, or at least the thing that brightens up the most, is the white background, which I have here, which you can now see is white. And when I begin darkening, first the black darkens, because that's the darkest part, so along with that. Then we have the offset, and the offset is very similar to the gain, except it adjusts a lot more and a lot greater. So as I said, the gain might be a smaller, mild brightness adjustment, while the offset would be a big brightness adjustment. So if I increase this a lot, you see how much brightness is into that now, and as I decrease it, a lot darkness. But it's not exactly brightness and darkness, because you see, if it's all the way up, it's not completely white. It takes the lightest parts and, takes some parts, starting with the lightest parts, and begins to increase the brightness of them. And then next we have the alpha. And the alpha, I'm going to relate to the saturation. Well, first let me bring down the offset back to normal. And when I decrease the alpha, it takes all of the color out, leaving nothing but black, while the saturation leaves some color, but just the blacks and whites, causing for a gray, black, and white image. But the alpha is a combination of red, green, and blue, or RGB, so when you take that out, you lose all the color in there, leaving nothing. So you might want to leave that at 1. Next, we have this section over here. And what this can do is if you only want to adjust one part of your... And what this can do is if you only want to adjust a certain color in your video. So let's say I want to only change the green on my shirt. I can click Select Effect Range, and then select my green shirt. And then as I move this around, you see only that green is affected. However, as you may notice, my green shirt is very wavy, and so it's not the exact color green covering everything. So that's why if you adjust it, only some parts will change, and that's only the greens that are exactly the same green as I have selected. So this might not work great if you were selecting something like my shirt, which I just showed you. And these adjustments is if you want to do this pretty manually, because adjusting this helps select the color. So you see if I select the effect range and make it a different color, how about this gray, all those levers change to adjust to the gray. And at default, if I bring it back to default, you see how this is the default setting, and based upon what color you select, the levers change to match that. So if you're doing this with the Select Effect Range button, you don't even need to worry about these tabs. But if you want, you can mess around with them and see what colors you can select with them. And lastly, there's this Custom tab, which pretty much has everything that we just went over, but it's just not as neat and organized as you have here. I would say stick with the Parameters tab, no need for the Custom. I like the look of the parameters better anyway. And so that's it for this tutorial, guys. I'll see you tomorrow on my tutorial on Sony color curves. Please subscribe and like and get me those 300 views and 100 subscribers. I would love it, and I know you guys would love it too. So once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you later.